Hello everybody, this is Jen from Scrapping Posh, and I am here today with this paper dress tutorial. Now, I went to the dollar store and bought this generic Barbie doll, and what you see here is the box with the Barbie doll in it, and she's made out of thin hollow plastic, not like the actual Barbie dolls, but I really don't think it's going to matter in this case for the purpose that we're using it for. So, of course, you've got to take apart the doll, and I had just wrapped some saran wrap around the box so that I had everything together. So this is just regular saran wrap, and I'm using this so it doesn't stick to the doll, so that it's easier to get off, and in the future I can use this doll again. And I'm just going to wrap the entire doll in saran wrap. But before I do that, I was going to remove the head so that I didn't ruin the hair. And she just kind of fell apart at the midsection, which I think is probably why this doll is at the dollar store. Or how, it can ship so inexpensively. So I just wrap around the neck and the arms, and initially I intend to leave the neck and arms on the dress form or the dress, but I eventually cut them off because they turned out to be a real pain. So if I do it again, I may try and do the arms. I almost had it right, but it just didn't work out. So this part, if you want to keep the neck and arms, is the correct way to do it. I think the way that I messed it up is the way that I cut it off the doll. So, okay, so you just wrap it up real tight, real form-fitting. And I suppose you could remove the arms too if you didn't want to do a, the arms part of it. And then I just wrap around the bottom part for the skirt part of the dress. And at this point, I really don't know how long the dress is going to be, so I figured we'll just do it this way. So now what I'm getting is just some packaging so that I don't mess up my mat, and some Mod Podge. And then I had some book pages there from before that you've seen. So just gathering some of my material. And this Mod Podge is new, so I have an old bottle. I'm going to use that first. And now that I've located that bottle, I'm just going to begin by putting the Mod Podge all over the saran wrap, after I make sure there's no unsightly bumps or buildup of saran wrap, because I really want it to be form-fitting, because you're not going to have anything behind it to show that this is, a dress form, so it needs to look like a body. So you just spread the Mod Podge all over the saran wrap, and then your book paper or tissue paper or scrapbook paper. Probably cardstock would be too thin or too thick, so definitely use no thicker than copier paper. And you just, I don't know what you, it's kind of like a decoupage, so you just decoupage that paper all over the doll. So, and at this time you kind of decide where you're going to have all your paper. And you just make sure that you smooth out any lumps or bumps along the way, especially on the folds. And you're just seeing that it takes quite a bit of Mod Podge to get that paper pliable enough to stick it onto and have it stick to the form. So just I just ended up sticking it directly into the puddle of Mod Podge I had there. And it helps when you're doing this if you take smaller pieces of the paper at a time, especially in the folds and the bends, any curvy areas. So, and then I'm just using my fingers here to flatten out or mold the paper to the doll. So you just continue to do that all the way around the doll. And eventually, once this gets just a little tacky, things start sticking better. So I'm going to speed you up here and let you guys watch at a sped up pace with a little bit of music in the background and see how this comes together. Okay, so now that the doll is dried completely, and at least overnight, you just take and slit the dress right up the middle on the back. And it's a little tough to get through, but just try and keep it as straight as you can. It's going to help you out when you're like fixing this seam. So you can see I just started at the bottom and went straight up, and then start at the top and go straight down. And then if you want to keep the sleeves, I think this is where I messed up, and I'll try and do another one with sleeves. I cut right across the back there, and I think maybe it would have worked better if I cut maybe from the waist up, or I made a little V. Maybe it's, you know, you need to cut it straight across. So again, I'll see if I can't make another one with sleeves and determine the best way to do that. So this one is without sleeves. And now I'm just going to attempt to draw what I want the front of the dress to look like. And this dress would be fine the way it is if you wanted like a high neck. But I was gonna, you know, cut it basically the way it ended up, which is the lower neckline with like the heart shape at the top. So I'm just trying to get a middle point and then a heart shape. So I kind of stick to the guidelines, but not too stringently. And then here I'm drawing the straps on, which, you know, again, would have worked if here, how that's not straight across, if I would have used where I wanted the back to be to cut that, it would have came, I think it may have came out better. So I don't know, we'll have to do some testing. So here, I just cut through all the saran wrap and removed both the saran wrap and the paper. Now, surprisingly, the paper stuck to the saran wrap. So what I end up doing is removing all the saran wrap from the inside that I can, which still leaves a layer of saran wrap, and you can still see it. Let me show you guys that. Put my doll back together and put her in the box for next time use. I hadn't stuck that dress back on her there. So just trying to clean up a little bit as I go. Hopefully I don't get any glue on her that way. Okay, so that was kind of a procrastination method on my hand. I'm trying to think of what to do next. So I removed the inside of the saran wrap to the best of my capabilities. And this takes quite a bit of time actually, so let me speed you up again. Alright, now that I got most of that removed, it's time to kind of piece this dress back together, but before I do that, I figure that it's going to be easier to cut it when it has the flexibility of kind of laying flatter. So this is where at the beginning I tried to shape the arms, and it does work well. So if I were to make the arms, this is where I would do it. And again, I think if I would have cut that back where I wanted the back of the dress to be, it probably would have worked. So I got a little bit of build up of the saran wrap around the arms because it was hard to get that dress to form in all those different curves. So it just has a buildup of saran wrap right there. So I cut a V right down the middle, so I kind of give myself a starting point of where I want that neckline to be, and then I start the curves toward the sleeves, and then you'll see where I give up with the sleeves. It's where I end up trying to cut the back, and just go with the flow, and we'll make a sleeveless dress out of this at this point. So I could have saved myself some time and saran wrap and decoupage, but that's okay. And when you're doing this, be sure to not obviously crush because it is hollow at this point and very easy to crush. You just kind of have to handle it like a soft piece of plastic. And it is malleable, so you can, you know, push back the curves where you want them to at this point. But later, once we get it all bound back up down the back, it becomes a little more important. So I'm just forming the dress just like you would. If I don't know, I don't sew, so I'm not gonna say just like you would if you were making the dress, but you just chip away at it a little bit at a time. Okay, so now that I got the basic design done, I do a couple different things. First, I try to stuff it with paper so that it gives it some, you know, durability or some strength so that it doesn't collapse, and that doesn't work. I don't know if it's because of the way I did it or what, but yeah, this completely, I just end up taking it all out. So stuffing it with paper did not work for me. What worked for me is just being careful and not crushing the form. The only part that I had problems with was the hip area, and I just think that maybe it could have used a couple more layers. But I ended up being okay because I could stick like a paintbrush or, you know, a dowel in there and kind of pop it back to roundness. So what I'm trying to do here is to figure out how to seam this back together, and the collage, the paper and the Mod Podge didn't hold well enough or quick enough, at least for me. Maybe other people can do it, but so I end up taking some washi tape up that seam, and then after I get the seam kind of put together and secured with the washi tape, I go over the whole thing with the book paper, and I do the washi tape on the inside and the out. So I wrap that book paper around the inside also, so it covers up the washi tape. So when you look at the form, you cannot see the washi tape at all. So as I'm doing that, after you put the washi tape on, you essentially do the same collage process that you did while it was on the doll. You just don't, you just gotta make sure not to, again, crush it. So I'm gonna speed you guys up while I finish that up. Okay, so now that that process is over, I let it dry completely again, and that was overnight. And I'm just trimming up where I had to, well, I didn't have to, but I ended up kind of going over the where I wanted the dress to be. So now I'm just kind of looking at all the different things that I have that I may want to add to this dress, because at this point I have no idea what I'm going to do. And so I thought this flower, the petals may be good. I have some lace and some paper tassels or trim and some doilies, and like I said, I just don't know what I'm going to do. So from this point on, it's all a bit of trial and error. So I do have this trim here that I know I'm going to put at the bottom, and then in order to set this in a stand, I have that candle holder that I got from the Goodwill for I think 50 cents or 25 cents, and also an American flag that I got from my local craft store during Memorial Day that the staple fell apart or fell off on. So I thought, well, I'll just use that as the stick, and I'll put the ball down in the bottom so it gives it a little bit of rigidity. So I'll do that here after a bit. And that bottom layer of lace. And I'm using my hot glue gun. So I like this flower trim, and that's going to be my next layer. And then after that, I pretty much have block. I have no idea what I'm gonna do. So I end up putting this piece of lace I got it from Walmart. I double it up and wrap it all the way around the bottom of the skirt part of the dress. And I just seam that on, and then I cut off the excess. And I burned my fingers in the process. And then I add another a piece of lace around the waist, and I end up doubling that up too. But not until after I put another piece of that big lace that's around the whole dress. I try to put that as kind of like a train or a poofy element in the back, and it totally doesn't work. I got these stranded beads, and I'm going to wrap those around the waist, and I also wrap those around the I don't know what you call that, a bodice. And then I have some little white feathers. So this essentially, you guys, is your you know, whatever you want to do as far as decorating goes, because like this is the fun part, right? Creating your dress. So, and like I said, I think if I would have had a reference, it probably would have went better. I looked at references after I had the first couple pieces of lace glued down, and that really didn't help because I didn't want to totally pull up what I already did. So that's why this dress turned out extremely simple, I think. But it's simple, but I also think it's elegant. So I'm happy with the result. And I just kind of push these beads down so that they're stuck, you know, where they're supposed to be stuck, and at the same time try to remove all the hot glue strands. So now I come up with this idea to kind of bunch this together and make a big poofy thing in the back and glue it underneath this piece of other trim there. And I completely remove this when it's done. I try it about 3 different ways, and it just does not look right. So trial and error. This is a prototype. This is brand new to me. I've never done this before, so it doesn't look horribly bad, but it takes away from what I was picturing in my mind. So now I just fill that candle holder with hot glue, and I place the flag stick in it and glue up one side of the flag stick, and then I just push the inside of my dress up against that glue, and it just kind of sticks. This is me trying about a million different things and getting frustrated, so I add another feather to the front. Actually add another 2 feathers to the front by the time I'm done. And then I thought, well, it's poofy, so it's too poofy, I'm going to glue it down. I glue down that feather some more. And I ponder about this for a long time, and now I'm showing you that I actually cut it off. So it left like a unsightly bump in the back, so I just take this half piece of lace and put it around the back, and it blends in pretty seamlessly with the rest of it. And now I have this beaded trim, and I'm just going to go around the base. This would have been easier to do before I glued the feathers on, but I just kind of move them out of the way. The other thing that I didn't do so well on this project was keep my seams 1 in the back or 2 underneath a different element. That one I did pretty good. I put that seam is under the feathers. Now I wanted something for where those feathers all kind of flourish apart. So I have these little resin roses that are about the right size, and hey guys, that's it. So I hope you enjoy the tutorial and you try this. If you try this, tag me in it. I would really like to see your creations. And I have a couple more ideas in mind, so stay tuned for those, and maybe we can get some cool stuff done. So I thank you very much, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Bye bye.